going down, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you just tuning in, I'm G. That's Duran.
How's it
Well,
going, guys?
welcome to our channel. We still haven't came up with a name yet. We're still getting used to this, the whole YouTube channel situation. But once we get done with it, maybe we'll come up with a name. But yeah, so week 2 went down the books. The only thing I have to say about that is 7 ACL tears confirmed.
Brutal week.
Brutal week for injuries. I mean, I know a lot of those, and 2 of those ACL tears happened in the 49er Jets game at
Yep.
MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Um, Unfortunately, they play again there against the New York Football Giants. I know they had some situation going on there regarding regarding the turf there, and I know they're investigating it again. So we'll see who goes down. I doubt they'll switch locations, but who knows? The 2020 has been a weird year.
Yeah, this is definitely a 2020 type of week, like you said. 7 ACLs, plus we had Christian McCaffrey's ankle, Malik Hooker's Achilles. On top of that, we had 2 MCLs, Brandon Sheriff and Caleb McGarry, and then 1 PCL, and that was Paris Campbell. So a
Yeah,
lot of injuries.
it was unfortunate. I did have Christian McCaffrey, my fantasy football team. He's now on my IR slot, which is pretty weird because that guy's been a workhorse for that team, been a bell cow, since entering the league, and it's unfortunate being that he went down. And then um, my backup also got hurt as well. Raheem Mostert for another squad got
There
hurt.
you
He
go.
had an
Knee,
MCL.
another knee injury. Yep.
Yeah, and then Tevin Coleman for the 49ers hurt his knee as well, so I can't
Yep.
even draft the backup. I have to get the third stringer, and I know they're going to be promoting somebody as well. Um, Not only that, I think the biggest one that hurts, not just me because I'm a homer or because I love this guy, but the biggest one that hurts, I think, is Nick Bosa being done for the year with the
Yep.
ACL. It's highly unfortunate. I know the Niners are scrambling to get things done. They promoted Deion Jordan from the practice squad, as well as signing Ziggy Ansah to a 1-year deal. I think it's around 3 million or 3.5 million. I could be wrong, more or less, but yeah, that's more just a band-aid. They can't replace that production with just one player. So,
Yep. Let's start with that game. 31-13, Niners beat the Jets. I mean, this was one where just feel bad for the Niners. They lost so many guys in this, and they're trying to fill in these gaps. I know Jimmy Garoppolo might not play this week. They got Nick Mullins coming in. I think I saw on here that they like Mullins a little bit. They turned down multiple trade offers from him this week. So if there's ever time to use them, right now would be it. They got Ziggy Ansah coming in for Bosa, like you said. Mostert's out. They're going to have to jump some guys up from the practice squad. Kittle's probably going to be out. They got Jordan Reed. So a lot of Band-Aids trying to fix things up on both sides of the ball.
yeah, this game was weird for me. Watching this, it started out great. First play of the game goes 80 yards, and he's
Yep,
circling the end
Mostert.
zone. I love it. Unfortunately, I was playing against him in a different league, so it was kind of bittersweet. But it's kind of like that Avengers meme that goes down. I saw it said, "We beat the Jets, and at what cost?" It says we cost everything,
Yep.
and we lost quite a bit of players. Like you said, we're still down players. We're down. I think we have like 18 guys out, and 10 of those are like major contributors.
Yep.
And I wouldn't expect anybody to come back fully. I know Kittle is coming back to practice, meanwhile, because he had a sprained knee as well. And then Jason Verrett, he's coming back from his hamstring injury, but
Yep.
I don't expect him to play. I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, we're playing against the 0-2 Giants. Nothing really scary about them. But, I mean, I'd
Without
much rather
Saquon.
without Saquon, but I'd much rather take an L and keep our team healthy and then take another W and, further risk injuring more people. But like you said, Mullins is coming in. Pretty confident in that guy. That guy's a smart guy. He's coming from Southern Miss. And I was actually listening to podcast, and I found out that if he throws over 400 yards in one game, he actually has more 400-yard games than Brett Favre. So that's a pretty interesting fact that I did not know.
Wow.
But
That is.
even a hobbled Jimmy Garoppolo, he looked a little bit more decisive. He looked a bit
Oh,
more
yeah.
accurate, and it was pretty exciting to see. Sam Darnold was showing some looseness, and I feel really bad for the kid because he does have some tools that need to be sharpened. Either Gase has to go, or they need to free Sam Darnold.
I
I feel
think
so bad for the kid.
I think Gase definitely needs to go. I mean, Jets might be the worst team in the NFL right now. Le'Veon Bell's out. Of course, their quarterback wasn't playing that well. They just traded Jamal Adams. Crowder and Perriman both got hurt and were out of the game. I mean, I feel like they're playing for the first round pick or the first overall pick right now.
Yeah, I mean, even Greg Williams' defense, it looks shitty.
Yep.
They had a 3rd and 31, and it was a broken play, but yeah, Jet
Oh,
McKinnon
yeah.
scrambled for
McKinnon.
55 yards, which is pretty exciting to see. And not only that, he ended it with contact, and the leaders of our game were him and Jordan Reed, two guys
Yeah.
who were going to get hurt, and we leaned on them, and they came up. They held up to that next man up mentality.
Yep.
Really good to see. It was so happy to see Frank Gore, suiting up. I mean, still to this day, he said he wanted to retire 49er, which is, pretty exciting for me to hear because, I love that guy coming out of the U, and then he's still playing to this day. He could play with his son. You never know. And every yard that he earned in that game he was running really, really hard, and it was really exciting to see.
Yeah, out of all the injuries, Frank Gore's still going on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so enough with that. Too many injuries to talk about.
Yep.
But let's go. Let's backtrack a little bit and let's go to
Mhm.
the Thursday night game between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. And we were watching this together, and
Yep.
it was a really fun game, pretty interesting games. One take I gotta say is the Browns got the 1-2 punch at the running back position. I love watching those two guys run.
Oh, definitely. Browns beat the Bengals 35-30. And yeah, like you said, of course, they have, I think, the best two running backs in the game. I think both of them had 2 touchdowns each. I mean, Chubb is just so powerful and great in the red zone and doing all the ordinary regular down stuff. Then Hunt comes in on 3rd downs and 2-minute and just shows off his balance, his hands, and knocks in a couple more touchdowns. So those two guys working together, I think they're kind of unstoppable. Especially if they could stay behind a healthy line. Baker Mayfield needs to really ride those guys out this year.
Yeah, it looked really good. Like you were saying, I feel like Kevin Stefanski opened up the playbook a little bit more. He's coming from that Mike Shanahan, Kubiak system as far as
Hello. You're frozen. You're frozen.
I lost you.
Hello. You
There
back?
you go. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and start back with Stefanski.
Okay. Kevin Stefanski opened up the playbook. He's coming from that Kubiak, Mike Shanahan system, so that wide zone looked amazing. The line, like you were saying, he needs to, run. Both need to run behind that line, and
Yep.
that looked really good. Definitely looked really good. OBJ even got involved. He got himself a touchdown. He could have got another one, but a huge miss on that pass interference.
Yeah, if you notice, OBJ got involved early and he was happy. So that's
Yes.
2 things. He got involved. He got that big touchdown. I think it was like the end of the first quarter, maybe beginning of the second. But from then on, he kind of seemed like his head was in the game. I think Baker Mayfield just played way better than he did in the previous week. He was showing off that arm and making some good throws. He did have one pretty bad interception, but that's Baker Mayfield. He'll do that every once in a while. And then Jarvis Landry was doing his thing, working those crossing routes, coming across the middle, and just being a good compliment to Odell Beckham. So I think they're on the right track. They just need to keep feeding those backs and making the easy throws to those wide receivers off of play action. They should be good to go.
Yeah, even that defense looked really solid. That defensive
Hmm.
line was looking great. Miles
Yeah,
Garrett was back there. Even Porter Gustin along. He's been a UDFA for the New Orleans Saints, and now he's on the Cleveland Browns. He's making a name for himself, undrafted free agent at a USC. So he's doing pretty solid, man. He's definitely working his ass off, and especially starting across from Miles Garrett is really good.
definitely. Couple things that I noticed about the Bengals. I mean, Joe Burrow with 61 pass attempts. They can't do that every week. That's just you
Did you
can't
see
set
he
the
was
kid up.
targeting the most?
Who is he targeting the most?
Yeah, it was AJ Green. He
And
was
AJ Green.
targeted
Yeah.
13 times. He only caught three.
Yeah, and AJ Green, he was pretty much shut down by Denzel Ward that game, man. I think AJ Green will bounce back. I mean, he's a veteran, he's been there, done that, but it was a rough game for him. I mean, like I was saying, you can't let the rookie throw that many times. He did show off his rushing ability a little bit, little rollover from week one, but throwing 61 times is just not good for anyone. You got to let your running backs mix in, get involved in there. And, I know their O line is trash, and I do feel bad for Mixon and Burrow, but, they got to kind of stand behind that offensive line and, take a little bit of heat off of Burrow.
Burrow was actually connecting really well with Drew Sample towards the end. I know some of it was in
Mm-hmm.
garbage. It wasn't really garbage time. It was kind of in that 2 minute hurry up. But one thing I did like is that Burrow, he's showing confidence, and he was taking his licks and still delivering, standing strong in that pocket, even extending plays, trying to get the or scramble for a first down, or extending the plays, trying to get a receiver open. And he connected really well with Drew Sample.
Yep.
So I'm excited for not only that connection, but the growth of Joe Burrow. I mean, that guy's a winner. He wants to win, and his interview was great. It wasn't no any kind of cockiness like I'll be back, whatever. It was just like we hate losing. We're 0-2. We could be better. Let's do. And it was just all about like him as them as a team, and just doing really well. So it was really good to see. Let's. You got anything else about the Cincinnati?
Nope. That was it.
Let's go on. We already covered the 49ers and the New York Jets, so let's stick with the New York team and go with the New York Football Giants versus Chicago Bears. They're playing
Mm-hmm.
at Soldier Stadium. Chicago walks away with this 17-13.
Yeah, it was a close one.
Any takes besides Barkley going down?
Uh, well, besides Barkley going down, I mean, this one just came down kind of to the last second, but the Giants couldn't make that last comeback. We know Saquon Barkley went down. Deion Lewis had to step in. He was the only active running back left on the roster, so they're going to bring a guy up to share some carries with him. We all know he's like a third down type of scat back type of dude. But Daniel Jones, man, he made some more big mistakes this week. He had a
Mm-hmm.
fumble where he's just holding the ball way too long. The pass rush got to him. He wasn't securing the ball and just lost it. He had another interception where he just didn't see the defender, threw it into just blatant coverage. The guy had an easy pick, and he was just off target for multiple throws. So I know Saquon's out, and a lot of pressure is going to be on him now. I can see a lot of defenses bringing the heat on him, but he's got to stay composed and make those smart decisions.
Yeah, definitely. That's something he struggled with last year, is hanging on to the ball
Yep.
too long and fumbling. So Um, he's definitely going against a little bit. I mean, it's a banged up defensive line, but still strong. I mean, they got Javon Kinlaw in there with the 49ers. They still got Armstead, and they got Kerry Hyder, who's just an all-out effort player. So they need to, contain him, and we'll see what he do and see what Saleh does as far as blitzes comes, because they need to put pressure on Daniel Jones, especially with not having their bell cow. Um, I hate to say it, but I mean, I think they'll be okay as far as the running goes. I think that Deion Jones he looked like he still had some life into him. He did get a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
The whole team ended with a 75-yard rushing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that says anything to you, but to me,
They
it
just
shows
didn't
that.
really have a running back to take it over and run between the tackles and stuff like that. And I know Jason Garrett, that's the type of stuff he wants to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as like the Chicago side, Jalen Johnson, rookie cornerback, still impresses me. I like seeing that guy play. I like his attitude, and he's got a lot of grit to him. Mitch Trubisky, he ends it with 18 for 28, 190 yards, two touchdowns, two interceptions, but he was sacked four times. His QBR rating,
Yeah,
QBR was 52.4. Um, I mean, I'm not really impressed by the Bears. Yes, they're
of course.
2 and 0, but I'm not impressed by them. I can't trust Trubisky, and I'm still confused of. I mean, why even trade for Nick Foles if you can't even utilize him and he gets beat out by Trubisky? Maybe to give him a little bit more
Yeah.
confidence.
We'll
But
see if he comes in later on this year. But Trubisky didn't play the best, but Allen Robinson was doing all that talking last week, and he had a pretty bad game after all that. The one of the interceptions that Trubisky threw was a tip pass right off of his hands, which went into the defense. And then his number two receiver, Anthony Miller, dropped a wide open touchdown, which could have really turned the, you know, Trubisky passer rating around. But I don't think he played the greatest, but I don't think he played the worst either. He played better than Daniel Jones, and that's what mattered in this one. Other than that, David Montgomery, he got hurt in the second quarter, but he ended up coming back into the game. He got a receiving touchdown. He ran hard, and we all know Tyreek Cohen was there doing the passing game and trying his best just to fill in when he was down.
yeah, for sure. I even like the utilization that they have with Cordell Patterson over there in Chicago. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't really believe in this team. Yes, they're 2 and 0, but nothing too impressive. Not really.
They're the worst 2-0 team.
Yeah, I can I can totally agree with you.
Yep.
You got anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, so let's go to your Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons, and this game was a shootout. I loved it, and um, me, you, and my brother, we all are Dak Prescott fans. The growth that he had from Mississippi State until now, man, this kid had heart. I mean, he's going to go into the Jerry Jones' office and say, give me that extension because look what I can do.
Yep.
It's super fun to see. You know, Atlanta. I mean, yeah, they took their shot on the chin, but at all of that, man, Calvin Ridley, that kid can play.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley can beat any number two cornerback in the league, and that's what happens week after week when the number one's going over Julio Jones. He just gets that best matchup, and you could see he on a lot of teams he could be the number one. But regarding the Falcons, man, I just I just think Quinn's not made to be a head coach. He's lost so many of these blowout games where people come back from behind on him, and it just seems like bad coaching decisions where they should be running the ball, killing the clock, and doing things like that, and they're just never in that position. It always seems like they're still losing when they're playing from huge leads, and you know, I don't. They got Todd Gurley, but they're not using him. Like I said last week, I don't think he's playing as good as he has in the past. But just two things: not having a running game and a bad secondary. That's just the perfect setup for teams to come back on you, and that's what Dallas did this week.
Yeah, for sure. What about that onside kick, man?
Yeah, this game, it was crazy from the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was an exciting game, but it was also horrible from all the mistakes. I mean, in the first quarter, the Cowboys had 4 fumbles, and they had 3 fumbles in 10 plays, which is just horrible. I don't think that's ever been done before. But on top of that, their defense just played really bad. They had no sacks until the fourth corner and got no turnovers. So that's why you could see the scores up to 40-39. Um, yeah, their most valuable player, like you said, Greg Zerline. Big onside kick, big game-winning field goal. I mean, we talked about it earlier this season, most valuable addition to the team. And who did I say? I said it was Greg Zerline, and I feel
Yeah.
like he's already paying off winning a game for us.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Atlanta, the hands team, I would have jumped on it,
You
from the
have
get.
to.
I mean, they don't have to wait the 10 yards. That's for the kicking team.
Yeah.
You got to jump on it. You at least got to shield it from the opposing team. I understand, the risk of knocking it forward. But if you know how to slide on a football,
Yeah.
you're gonna scoop that up, hands down. But that was exciting to see, the Cowboys, stomp back to that.
Yep. Especially
Um,
when it's Hayden Hurst and a couple other guys that are used to having the ball in their hand. I
yes,
mean, that you just have to make that. You have to make that play and win the game for your team. Uh,
yeah,
just a couple
man,
of things I wanted to mention. CD Lamb back-to-back 100-yard games. He's
yes,
playing great. Probably the best rookie wide receiver we've seen, and he had the game-winning catch. Zeke and Dak are both playing at pretty damn high levels. I know Zeke had the fumble, but Dak just, takes care of the ball and keeps fighting. And to me, I think Trayvon Diggs is the best cornerback on the Dallas Cowboys. 3 PBUs in the last 2 games. Uh, now we know Chidobe Awuzie is out, Anthony Brown's out. It just leaves him out there. He's going to be on an island with some of these wide receivers coming up.
yeah, for sure. Got anything else about that about your game, man? I mean,
Nope, that's it. Just can't wait for some guys to come back. Lyle Collins,
yes.
Tyron Smith, Vander Esch, Sean Lee, Awuzie, Anthony Brown. We got a lot of starters coming back, so I hope we start heating up soon.
When can Collins come back?
They're on IR, so what is it, 3? After
Yeah,
week 3, week 4.
after week 3. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so they're put on after they made the 53. They were put back on.
exactly. Yep.
Oh, okay, got ya. That's a smart move by them.
Yep.
Um, all right, let's go on to the Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers.
Perfect.
Packers just go away with this one, 42-21. But before we get started, I know we just covered the Falcons. Now we're about to cover the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're gonna we also talked about Adam Gase. Out
Mm-hmm.
of those 3, which one do you think is gonna get fired first?
Adam Gase. Adam
Adam
Gase
Gase?
is number. Yeah, Adam Gase and then Quinn for the
Yeah.
Falcons. He was about to get fired last year, and they went on that crazy win streak. But I think it's time for both of those guys to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly it's either between Gase and Patricia, man. They don't really seem too excited with Patricia. His
Mm-hmm.
scheme's not really working. Um, and I just feel bad for Matt Stafford, man. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's a
Yep.
good dude, and I just think they deserved a little bit better. I mean,
Would you
still,
throw Bill O'Brien in there? I would.
I would too. Honestly, I would too. But I thought that he was going to be gone a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he was made the GM decision. I mean, you can't. I don't understand it, man. I mean, the president needs to, kick him out. I mean, I'm still so surprised that you don't have a GM there still. So
Yep.
I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, back to Detroit and Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, going off 18 for 30 for 240 and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing I got to say is that, I mean, why draft A.J. Dillon when, Jones is just going crazy right now, man?
Yep.
He's
I know.
end of the
We
day.
talked about this game a little bit last week, and this was a game that I wanted to bet on. I kind of feel like it was going to be a blowout at that point, and then it started off a little bit weird as 14-0 Lions.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit wary there. There are division rivals, so they play each other pretty well. But the Packers are a top 3 to 5 team. Aaron Rodgers is in that early MVP talk, and I think the coaching staff has kind of learned that they need to let Aaron Rodgers do his thing, man, just like Russell Wilson is doing in Seattle. They were a little bit run heavy last year, as in, just rushing more than they usually do. But now it seems like it's getting into Aaron Rodgers' hand first, and then they're setting that up with the run game. And Aaron Jones, he led the team in receiving and rushing, 3 total touchdowns, a big 75-yard run, and he's currently on pace for 30 touchdowns. I mean, talk about a first-round pick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this kid's been going off, and it's something I like to see. Again, Detroit, I want to talk about them, but there's nothing really much to talk about.
Detroit, I have a couple things. I mean, they started off good, but they started racking up penalties really quick. I did notice that their offensive line is creating some gaps for these running backs. And, once you start falling behind, you start just abandoning that run game. But they really need Kenny Golladay back. I know they miss him. Marvin Jones had 4 catches early in the first half, but then they shut him down and it just stopped. Matt Stafford threw a pretty bad pick 6 in the red zone, and that's when the game was just over. So, you know, it's hard playing the Packers, and especially when you're the Lions. So you can't make those little mistakes, and you got to have your wide receivers healthy to try to compete with these guys.
Exactly. All right. You got anything else about this game? I mean, you're just
Uh,
kind of move
One more
on.
thing on the Packers, man, their wide receivers need to stop dropping passes.
Oh my
Adams was
God,
great.
that's
He got a
yeah,
little nicked up in the game, but MVS, uh, Lazard, both of those guys, huge drops, and Aaron Rodgers would be going crazy right now if these guys could just catch the ball right in their hands. So that was it. They need to hold on to the ball.
yeah. They got bad cases of drops. They need to get some new
Mm-hmm.
gloves or something. But all right, let's go on to Jacksonville at Tennessee. Titans take this 33-30. Gardner Minshew again goes over 300 yards, goes 3 touchdowns, but also 2 INTs.
Yep.
Then Tannehill got 239 yards for 4 touchdowns. But a guy that I'm still impressed by for the Jacksonville, it's not Minshew, but it's the rookie James Robinson.
Yeah.
He was put on my radar before the whole draft process by Dane Brugler. I mean, that guy just can find anybody, from like all the way to NAIA schools, and he can predict him to be a star. He said, look out for this kid, a late rounder. He's a stud. And for him to be undrafted to just go ahead and lead in the squad and rushing, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
16 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. He's definitely. I mean, if you need a running back and he's still on the waiver wire, pick this kid up because this kid's
Yeah.
going to continue to go, make his ways even with the shifty, kind of makeshift line. But yeah, man, this one was a close game throughout. It was pretty excited to see. Um,
It
yeah.
was. It was 30-30 with 2 minutes left, or at the 2 minute warning, and yeah, you just Minshew threw that interception at the end. It was tipped right at the line, and that kind of lost the game for him. But I think he played pretty good. Minshew, I've said before, he's not my favorite, but he's kind of showing me up this year by showing that he could play and belongs in the NFL. James Robinson, like you mentioned, he played great. I loved his power running, and that was his first career touchdown. So congratulations to him. DJ Chark, he beat Malcolm Butler deep, and it was like in the first quarter, I believe. So that kind of set the tone for them to start throwing the ball. And then he, made a couple more plays throughout the day, but then got hurt right around halftime. So DJ Chark, I mean, they would have really needed him in those last 2 minutes, especially when they're driving down the field and, trying to score in the red zone. And then one of my favorite rookies he's actually a wide receiver, but he ended up getting 5 carries, LaVisca Chenault. And you could just tell this offense really wants to get the ball in his hands. I like it. I think he's a playmaker, and he's pretty damn powerful for being a wide receiver. So I can't wait to see him develop and kind of turn into that dude there.
Yeah, I like that they're utilizing him the way that Chicago's utilizing Cordell. I mean, that was his comparison coming out.
Yeah.
But I like how they're making that an emphasis to put the ball in his hands where they can, right away instead of, just kind of. It was kind of late in his years for Cordell to, touch the ball in the backfield. I think it was with the Patriots at first.
Yep.
But I'm like you were saying, I love how they find ways to put this ball in this guy's hand. I mean, like you said, he carried it for 5 times, also caught the ball for 3 times, targeted 4 times. But this kid's still growing. He's still growing that connection with, Minshew. So we'll see how that goes. But on the Tennessee side, Jonnu Smith, the tight end,
Yep.
they got themselves a tight end. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a big one. I mean, I was kind of worried to see how they're going to play without Delaney Walker. Maybe they need that veteran presence, but I think they're just fine. Just Johnny Smith. I mean, he's also a yak monster as well once he
Yep.
catches him.
Yeah,
And then
he was a late round sleeper in fantasy football, and
yeah,
people that picked him up are pretty happy with it. Like you said, he's a yak monster. One of his last catches was for 62 yards and a touchdown, which you don't see tight ends doing that very often. And then he shows his versatility and scores a short one in the red zone. So
Yeah.
He's making plays all over the field, doing his thing. Ryan Tannehill, I kind of felt like this game might have been a little bit lucky. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns on only 18 completions. You don't see that very often. But we all know that this offense runs through Derrick Henry, and he was getting volume and volume and volume, but he just wasn't doing much with it this week. Seems like the Jags that was their main thing, was just shut down Derrick Henry. So got to give Tannehill credit. He made the most of it. Godkowski made up for last week. It seems like he's put that week behind him and made some more field goals without missing any. And then last but least, Corey Davis is still at it with A.J. Brown out. And it
Mm.
seems like he's being that guy that's the number one target off of these play action rollouts and stuff like that. So Corey Davis, we'll see how much longer he can keep it up while A.J. Brown's out.
Yeah. Anything else about that one?
That's it.
All right. On to Minnesota at Indianapolis. Indy takes this one 28-11. I don't know, man. This game did not excite me whatsoever. I mean, the only thing that really got me like, oh man, that was pretty interesting, was after the game when I got to see how many carries and yards actually Taylor got. And he ended the day with
Yeah.
26 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats to the Rook. That was great to see for sure. But man, I'm still so unimpressed by Philip Rivers. I mean, the guy is funny to watch. With how he doesn't cuss, but he's so competitive at the same time. But he's just not. I don't know, man. I feel like his arms, like we were talking about quarterbacks earlier. I think his arm's kind of dead.
Yeah, like you mentioned it. I think this is going to be a run dominant team. I mean, they got one of the best lines, if not the best line in the NFL. And Jonathan Taylor, I mean, he just got the opportunity to prove himself this week. And I think he just showed some solid power running. Nothing crazy. I don't think his longest run was even over 20 yards. It was just consistently breaking tackles, falling forward, and doing his thing. And last week I praised Naheem Hines for doing his thing at the goal line and stuff, but he was MIA this week. It was all Jonathan Taylor. So congrats to him. I think this is just the first page of his book, and he's going to keep this stuff up. So Naheem Hines might get in some third and long and some receiving type stuff, but this is Jonathan Taylor's, this is his backfield to go. I didn't really have much on Phillip Rivers. I mean, he is Phillip Rivers. Unfortunately, Paris Campbell was one of the ACL guys. He tore his ACL in the first quarter, and it was from a hit from Harrison Smith. It was like right on the right sideline, and Harrison Smith just came in like a rocket and right into his knee, and that was it. You could tell he was in pain from that moment on. And yeah,
Man,
T.Y. Go ahead.
Kirk Cousins, man, if he doesn't believe in karma, I mean, I understand that he had that whole ordeal about COVID, like, oh, if it's gonna kill me, it's gonna kill me.
Yeah,
I'm not scared of all that. But man, you throwing 3 interceptions into the game. I mean, that defensive line for Indy actually looked pretty solid. DeForest Buckner had a couple sacks, but man, he threw 3 interceptions to one to Corey Willis,
mm-hmm.
Kenny Moore, and then another one to T.J. Carey.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what's going on with that guy. That guy needs to get his head out of his ass, and we'll definitely see. Buckner actually ended out with 1.5 sacks. I
oh,
bet he
there
had
you
2.
go.
1.5.
Yeah, I watched all this game, and Kirk Cousins, I have it down 3 interceptions. One was just a horrible deep underthrow to Adam Thielen in the middle of the end zone, picked off. The second one was garbage time later on in the game, and then the third one was a deflection. But none of them were very good throws. It just seems like this offense could not move the ball, and to be honest with you, I didn't think the Vikings are going to be this bad this year. And I know they lost Diggs. I know they got some injuries on the defensive end, but everyone's got injuries right now. So what my pet peeve about this one, Kirk Cousins, we know you threw some bad interceptions, a couple of tipped ones, whatever, but the guy took another safety this week. Another safety in the end zone. He got one last week. We mentioned it. Jair Alexander got him on the corner blitz. He gave up another 2 this week. It's just, come on, man. So I just think they got to start running this thing through Cook. He started off hot, but he couldn't score until garbage time. He was moving the ball a little bit in the first quarter, but then that got shut down. So yeah, I just didn't see Minnesota being this bad, but they do got Thielen, they do got Cook, and yeah, Kirk Cousins he gets bailed out of catches by Adam Thielen. I saw it multiple times this week. So Thielen just making those great catches and actually making his stat line look better than it should be.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about his former running mate, Buffalo at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs ending the day with 8 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
Allen is just feeding him. I mean, he loves his new best friend. This game ended up being a little bit closer than I thought. 31-28 was the final. Um, yeah, these quarterbacks were doing. Allen ended the day with 415 yards with 4 touchdowns, and of course, Fitzpatrick, like you're saying, he's going to ball out the next game. I mean, 328 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty exciting to see. But Mike Gesicki coming out of nowhere, his leading target for 8 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown as well. Congrats to anybody who has those guys on their fantasy football team. I mean, they definitely balled out. But I'm definitely impressed by Josh Allen. Another week where he's, just going out there with a, solid QBR rating as well with 93.7 rating at 146.7. The rushing attack wasn't really anything to write home about. Singletary, end of the day, was 56. Then you got Zach Moss with 37.
Yeah.
But, man, they're feeding the receivers, and I like to see that. I mean, you got Diggs, you got Brown, you got Beasley. McKenzie's getting into it. You got Knox, and, it's something exciting to see.
Yep.
I like that for sure. I mean, I know you miss your boy Beasley, and, he's getting fed out there.
I'd rather have CD Lamb right now. It looks like he's doing a little bit better. But a little fun fact that I saw is Stephon Diggs this week. We just talked about the Vikings. Stephon Diggs ended up having more yards receiving than all the Vikings receivers combined, which that's a little bit of a fuck you game for him. But
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, he's one of our favorites. He's the man, great route runner. He had a good deep ball that was on point, and they're just putting him in motion every play, and that's what I like to see, just getting him in those weird matchups where he could take advantage of it. I think he should have had a lot more yards in this game. He was missed wide open in the first quarter, and then he had a big drop in the third quarter. So I think he could have put up a lot more yards, and I think one of those could have been another touchdown. But like you mentioned, Josh Allen this year just seems like the guy's turned the corner, man. What I like the most about him, we know he has a huge arm, but he was showing some touch this game. He was showing some touch, throwing it over linebackers, putting it in the hole, and just letting his wide receivers do the work for him. And that's what I like to see. He has had 300 yards. He's thrown for 300 yards the last 2 games. His first 28 games in the NFL, he had no 300-yard games. So that just shows you where he's at right now, and he's actually leading the NFL in passing yards. So we'll see if he can keep it up. I doubt it. I think he'll fall back to earth in a little bit, but definitely better than he was in the past years. As for the running backs, the Bills were really run heavy last year, and it seems like they're kind of moving away from it. We know they got Diggs, but they also drafted Zach Moss. They have Singletary back there, but Singletary is running hard, doing his thing. It seemed like has that forward lean right now, but the key right here is the passing game.
Yes. Before I go on to about the Miami Dolphins, as far as route running goes, I watched the Cowboys game very closely, and I watched Calvin Ridley's routes.
Yep.
Comparing his routes to Diggs, I mean, man,
Yep.
I'm liking putting him in one of the best route runners, one of my favorite route runners.
Side by side. Yep.
I loved it. I love the growth of the young kid. I mean, but man, Diggs, like you were saying, he's definitely one of our favorites. Excited to see him, in a new home, especially with the young gunner that wants to feed him the ball, long. And he can definitely hit you on those double moves to create some space for himself. And then, like you were saying, Josh Allen is improving on his touch a little bit, which I definitely like to see. But as far as Miami goes, let's see, Gesicki definitely did. He went off. He's becoming a reliable target for sure. We'll definitely see how he does in the future if he can stay on this pace or not. Let's see here. For running back wise, for Miami, they kind of spread it out a little bit with Gaskin, Breida, Howard,
Lard.
Laird. He didn't get touched the ball actually.
Oh, he didn't. I saw him in there a
No,
couple of times. I just that's the game I just got done rewatching.
gotcha. And then Howard touched the ball 5 times, but for 4 yards. I mean, they're goal line carries. You got a touchdown.
Yep, exactly. He's the goal line guy. But this was the game. It had the lightning delay. Even the NFL dropped a feed and they didn't have all the video on it. But I saw Devontae Parker's only touchdown from a fan video that shot on their phone and posted to Instagram or something like that. That was just a red zone target. Miles Gaskin, I think he is the starter. I think he's the new guy here. He's getting targets. He's getting carries. He saw a 65% snap count in this game. So I think they're just moving him into kind of when Tua is the quarterback there. And
Mhm.
Brian Flores even came out and said he's the perfect running back for the spread offense. So I think this is the way they're going to roll with it with Howard doing the goal line stuff. So uh, I can't wait to see Tua, man. That's all it is. I've seen way too much of Fitzpatrick. We know what he is. We know the mistakes that he does, but I'm ready to move on. As far as receiving goes, Mike Gesicki's the man. He might have made one of the catches of the week, at least top two, top three. The one-handed catch. He just consistently made catches in traffic. And at one point, they even put Tre'Davious White on him, and he scored on Tre'Davious White on a seam route. So that just shows you how good he's playing right now. So unfortunately, Dolphins do fall to 0-2, and they might be another one of those teams fighting for this, fighting with the Jets and other teams for the first pick. But I like what I see from some of their guys.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Anything else about that game?
I'm done with that game.
All right, let's go to the LA Rams at Philadelphia.
Yep.
Eagles. You got Rams just taking this one home, 37
Mm-hmm.
and 19. I know the Phillies dealing with a lot of injuries, but Carson Wentz is a shell of himself. It's kind of weird to see, but definitely the battle between the 1 and 2, draft picks in their draft class between
Oh
Goff,
yeah.
Wentz, and Goff's looking a lot comfortable. And today with going 20 for 27, 267 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and all those going to his tight end Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
He seems to
No,
be the main.
Higby balled out. Higby balled out this game. I mean, I felt like the Rams wanted to run with Cam Akers at the beginning of this, but he ended up leaving with cracked, bruised, something was wrong with his rib. So then Malcolm Brown and Henderson came in and split carries, and then Malcolm Brown ended up breaking his finger, I believe. But they ended up having to resort to Goff, and man, Goff he looks good when he's comfortable, and he was comfortable this game. We know Sean McVay uses a lot of motion and a lot of pre-snap things just to get guys in the open, and it was working this game. And the big beneficiary for this was Tyler Higbee, and I felt like two of his touchdowns were really on blown coverages, but I chalk that up to McVay just being the offensive mastermind that he is. But the third touchdown was in traffic. He made the catch, and Goff made the throw. So good for them.
Yeah, last week you seemed to be Malcolm Brown just kind of taking the day, and then this week is Darrell Henderson.
Yep.
So they're definitely spreading the ball around in that running back room for sure, which is pretty exciting to see. One thing I got to knock on Goff for is that when he feels the pressure, he seems to be panicking. But like
Yeah.
you said, when he's comfortable, he can throw all day. But when he gets hands in his face or gets that pocket starts collapsing, he tends to panic, and I think that's where a lot of his incompletions came from. Cooper Cup leading the day as far as receiving wise as yards
Okay.
go, 5 for 81. But like we
Yep.
were saying, Higby ends the day with 5 for 54 with 3 touchdowns. That was definitely something exciting to see. Ah, man, I really wish that I can say something good about the Eagles. I mean, Miles Sanders
Yeah.
is good, 20 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it just they seem to feed the ball a little bit more to Ertz, though. I mean, 5 catches this time.
Yeah, this was a Ertz game over Goddard, but I know you said even Miles Sanders, he looked good. He fumbled on the third play of the game, and we know this goes back to him in college. He had some troubles fumbling then, and he might have even got another touchdown later in the game. Wentz took that one from him, but Miles Sanders, it looks like he's back. I even heard a little bit about his conditioning. He admitted that his conditioning isn't as good as it needs to be right now, so maybe we'll see him take a step forward later on in the year. But yeah, the Eagles really aren't playing that well right now, and they have injuries to their O line, but you can't really use that excuse right now. So many teams are dealing with injuries, offensive line and skill positions and stuff like that. So they are missing too, but they have pretty solid guys in there. And it's just Wentz he's making bad decisions. He threw a horrible interception at the beginning of the third quarter in the red zone. And, you just can't do that, especially when you have points guaranteed to you with a field goal. So that was bad. I did notice I have Deshaun Jackson on a league, and so I was watching him a little bit. And he's running a little bit more than just the standard 9 and post routes. He's doing some comebacks. He's doing some in routes. He's doing a little bit of other things. So he's pretty much the only receiver right now. Even the rookie Jalen Rager is out. So this is pretty much their only hope besides the tight ends and the running back. So hopefully Deshaun Jackson steps it up. And one thing I have to say is they better beat the Bengals next week, or else all hell is going to break loose, and they're really going to be down for the count. So
Did you
good
hear
luck with
that
that
press
one.
interview when they asked, like, "Hey, Peterson, how is he, regressing in year like what 4?"
Yep.
He goes, "Oh, good question." He didn't really get to answer that. That was kind of like throwing wins underneath the bus.
Yep.
I'm honestly going to chalk it up to the receivers as well. I mean, they got to step up a little bit more, create a little bit more
Yeah.
separation. I mean, JJ Arcega Whiteside I mean, come on, dude. You got to set the
Yep.
fuck up, man. Like, you were drafted, I think, before DK Metcalf, and I mean, DK
Yep.
Metcalf's going about every, second year receiver in the league right now. Um, I don't really got much to say about that Philly game. You?
That's it.
All right, let's go to Denver at the Steelers.
Yep.
You got Steelers taking this one 26-21. This is actually a closer game than I thought it was going to be, only because that Pittsburgh defensive line is just scary, man. I mean,
It
all those
is.
guys are getting in there. Tyson Alulu, he's waking up. I
Yep.
forget what year it is in the league, but man, he's stepping up. The former first rounder out of Cal, now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is getting a lot of pressure. He's creating a lot of havoc with his running mate Cameron Hayward. So it's pretty exciting to see. Uh, Ben Roethlisberger, he's still shaking off some rust, but he's getting out there. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I know Drew Lock went down. I think it was an AC joint sprain. Jeff Driscoll comes in. He ends the day with 18 for 34, 256, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
Okay.
Um, man, Deontay Johnson. One thing I got to say to him: congrats, way to have a big game. But man, you got to fix those drops, brother.
Yeah.
Fix
I
those
feel you.
drops. I have him in 2 of my leagues because I love this kid since Toledo. But man, one thing I saw at Toledo is still carrying over to this game is the inconsistency, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
he flashes, then he disappears. He's a shell of himself. And all of a sudden here he is again. Then he
Yep.
drops the ball, drops another ball, catches one for a long touchdown on the outside streak. So I'm like, great. Um,
Yeah, this should have been a huge game for him. We already know he had 98 catches, 92 yards, a touchdown. But in our league, we get return yardage, and he actually had a punt return that was called back on him. And I kind of think it was a bad call. But yeah, if he fixes the little things, this guy's going to be special. And I think I even said it last week. I'm starting to convince myself that Ben Roethlisberger is making the Steelers wide receivers look better. I know the thing is always Pittsburgh drafts great wide receivers late in the draft, but something's telling me this is Big Ben. Big Ben is making these guys look good. We saw last year; it seemed like a lot of these receivers regressed, but look at this year. I mean, even Claypool's making huge plays. He had an 84-yarder there. So yeah, I'm just giving props to Big Ben on this. We know that he's, his best years are probably past him, but he's still out there slinging it. He did have a bad interception in the third quarter, which he shouldn't have threw, and that kind of kept these guys in the game a little bit. I think he actually should have had two interceptions just watching it back, but he lucked out on that. Juju, I think this is a contract year for him, and he's kind of taken a back seat when it's coming to these young receivers making big plays. So we know he's back in the slot. Maybe he'll step it up later on the year, but I don't know if he'll be back. We'll see how much money he demands in the open market. But Juju, you got to step up your game, my man.
Speaking of
Uh,
stepping up, James Conner definitely did step up this game. 18 with 16 carries, 106 yards,
yep,
and a touchdown. Something I'm excited to see, especially out of this kid. He is a little bit inconsistent, but I know a lot of people wanted to, pick up Benny Snell right away. But man, ending the day with 3 carries for only 5 yards,
and a
that's just the kind of
fumble.
player he is.
He
And a
fumbled.
fumble.
He fumbled
Right.
early in the game and pretty much
Right.
got benched. Connor
Mm-hmm.
came in, and I don't think it was his best game. He played pretty mediocre throughout the game, then had a big 60-yard run at the end, so that kind of saved his day. But yeah, it seems like he's back on the bright side, and Benny Snell is in the doghouse. But I know you mentioned a little bit about the Steelers' defense. I noticed they're playing a lot of man-to-man coverage and just bringing
Yeah.
the heat, man. They're just bringing the heat, especially on these young guys, and it's working for them. Their defense is solid.
Their defense is always solid. Something over there with and it's in Pittsburgh. I don't know what it is, man, but their
Yep,
defense. They're known for the defense for
it's a
sure.
culture.
On the Denver side, you got Melvin Gordon leading the rushing attack for sure. Unfortunately, Cortland Sutton, he's one of the guys that tore his ACL.
Yep,
So he ended the day with only 3 catches, 66. But they ended up saying, man, he busted up his knee, and I was waiting for it because I do have him on the fantasy football team, and it ended up being a torn ACL, and he's done for the year, unfortunately. Jerry Judy ended the day with only 4 catches, 62 yards. But a man continuing to show out and scoring is Noah Fant,
Noah
second-year tight
Fant,
end out
man.
of Iowa.
Yep,
Definitely impressed by this kid. He's turned into his own. He may not be the best blocker, but I mean that's not the. I mean the NFL nowadays is kind of receiving options. When it came to the two out of Iowa, Hawkinson was a better blocker, but Noah Fant was definitely the better athlete, and it's showing. I mean he's getting in the end zone, he's scoring. Um, Excited for this kid to grow a little bit more. Unfortunately, I wish that he had more time with Julock. I know Julock is down. I don't know if they
yep.
put him on short-term IR or not, but hopefully he can grow some, relationship with Jeff Driscoll right now. It's their their second string quarterback.
Yeah, I feel like Fant's really killing it in the red zone, especially. We know he could do his yak stuff too, but the red zone is just dominating. And now that Sutton's out for the season, maybe he even comes into the game and produces a little bit more. It does suck that Locke went out with that AC joint, but man, he had a horrible play where he was just holding on to the ball way too long, caused that fumble, and that was kind of the turning point in the game where they just weren't coming back from that. Then Trott's in the backup quarterback. So that definitely sucks. Jerry Judy, I love Jerry Judy coming out of the draft. He was my number one wide receiver. And what's up with him and the drops right now? I never saw that in college. I didn't see anything, but this is week 1 and week 2. He's, has the dropsy. So we'll see if he sews that up, especially the Cortland Sutton being out. And he probably is the number one receiver on that team now. So we'll see. Love you, Jerry Judy. I still have faith that he'll come back. And just one more piece of credit goes to Melvin Gordon. He made a hell of a catch in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So that was nice to see. You don't really see him do that much. That's not a huge part of his game. So good for him.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the drops as far. I mean, more heard about it because Nick Saban was said something about him dropping in practice, which is unfortunate. We'll definitely see. But yeah, let's move on to Carolina at Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Buccaneers go ahead and take this 131-17. Teddy Bridgewater throws 2 picks. This is kind of the Teddy Bridgewater that a lot of people like to see. I mean, not like to see, tend to see.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate. Christian McCaffrey scores 2 touchdowns, but he walks out with a high ankle sprain. He's done for 4 to 6 weeks, which is
Yep.
unfortunate. Tom Brady, nothing to write home about. Let's see, he goes 23 for 35, 217, a touchdown, but also a pick.
Yep.
I think they found their leading running back in Leonard Fournette. He ends the day with 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. I tell you what, one of them was he broke a couple tackles and he went off to the races. Kind of looked like the old LSU guy, that
Yeah,
was.
that was to seal the deal.
Yeah.
That was to win it all. To me, I think Brady looked a little bit better in this one than he did week one. I know they're talking about the old men trying to throw the ball when he played the Saints. But I don't know if it wasn't so much arm strength in this one. It was more about just being on the same page as his receivers. He had a back shoulder throw to Mike Evans that looked great, and he still made some solid throws. But you can see he's still working into it. Two things that I did notice: two drop touchdowns. So I know Tom Brady was probably furious, or I can only imagine him on the Patriots. He's still probably feeling things out here for the Buccaneers, but yeah, the two drop touchdowns, that's just something Brady doesn't put up with. So yeah, I think they'll end up working it out. As for the running backs, you're correct. I have right here Leonard Fournette showing that he's the best running back on the team. I mean, Ronald Jones did have a good run. He broke off to the left, had a great stiff arm, and ran down the sidelines. But I think that was about it. And this is going to be Fournette's backfield here moving through. Once again, as far as tight ends go, Gronk MIA. I know Bruce Arians made a comment saying we brought him in here to be a tight end, and if that means blocking, then he's blocking. If it's receiving, then it's receiving. But to me, it looks like this is kind of why they didn't get rid of OJ Howard. He continues to produce each week. He had the touchdown week one, so I like it. I'm a big OJ Howard fan, so I'm glad he got a confident quarterback in there to deliver the ball to him.
How about our boy DJ Moore? 8 catches for 120.
Yeah.
No touchdown, but I'm glad to see that Bridgewater is definitely targeting him. That's good to see. But
Yep.
on the other side, Mike Evans ends the day with 104 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
In that little bond with, Tom for sure. And
Yep.
their defense is actually looking really solid. Their defense is kind of carrying them a little bit, which is, always fun to see.
Yeah, I like this DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson combo. I kind of feel like Curtis Samuel was a little bit too close to what DJ Moore was as a wide receiver, as in working the middle of the field. And you can see Robbie Anderson's just stretching the field and opening those things up for him. So I love that. I'm a big DJ Moore fan. I'm not too much of a Teddy Bridgewater fan. I mean, the Bucks caused 4 turnovers against him, and Teddy threw 42 times. That's something you just don't want. He's not a 42 attempt type of quarterback. That's just to me out of his repertoire. So they got to dial that back a little bit. We know they don't have Christian McCaffrey for a little bit with the ankle, but they got to somehow make some things up in that area. Teddy, I have some big mistakes for him. He had a really bad scramble play where he's trying to get away from the defensive line, and he just fumbled, gave the ball up, and it was weird. It kind of reminded me of that Joe Burrow rookie mistake type thing, and he's too old to be doing stuff like that. Get rid of the ball, take the sack, do whatever you got to do, but just don't give it up. And my last note is, get well soon, Christian McCaffrey, because the NFL needs you.
Yeah, that's 100%, man. All right, let's go on to Washington at Arizona.
Yep.
Arizona takes this one 30-15. I thought this was going to be a little bit more test for Kyler Murray for sure,
Yeah,
especially with that defensive front. But
exactly.
they spread him out. They ran it. They did schemed it up for sure to get him out of it. I mean, Murray even ran for 2 touchdowns. Um, Throwing wise, he ended it. See 26 for 38 for 286, 1 touchdown to D Hop, and then also an interception. On the other side, Haskins 19 for 33, 223, and a touchdown. Comparing the running backs, let's see, Gibson had 55 yards and a touchdown. Drake had 86 yards.
Hmm.
McLaurin still killing it, man. 7 catches, 125 yards. Um, that's something exciting to see for sure.
Yeah, this one for me was that Kyler Murray is really stamping himself on the NFL and showing that, he could throw and I just think he's choosing when to run and showing he has a great arm. It's two things that it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard for a quarterback to not use his feet when he doesn't need to, and he's showing that he uses the arm first, but when it's not there, he's using those quick feet. He's making guys look dumb in the open field. He has just those short, choppy steps, and no one could quite seem to get an angle on him. And I'm loving it. He seems to be doing really good this year. I did see one mistake from him. He threw an interception right to a safety in the middle of the field, and this is his 18th game of his career, so he's still going to make little mistakes like that. But having a guy like DeAndre Hopkins kind of wipes away those little things. Hopkins didn't get as much volume as he did last week, but he did have that touchdown in the red zone, and he was wide open. I don't know how, as a Washington football team player, you don't cover DeAndre Hopkins in the red zone, but he just snuck around one corner. The safety didn't pick him up, and he was wide open in the back of the end zone. So, yeah, they got to sew that up, and it's going to take a while for Washington to get back on track. Um, Christian Kirk, he was a guy that I like. He finally made a play this week. He did nothing last week. I think he had 0 yards on one target, on one reception, but he did make a good play on the sideline. I think he should be involved a little bit more just to give their team a little bit more of a threat. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it would help out not only Kyler Murray, but it'd help out Hopkins just to have another guy that they kind of got to focus on and know that he's a threat. So we know they got Kenyon Drake. I feel like he struggled to get started at the beginning, but he was consistently getting touches. And I might just write this one off as a hard matchup against that Washington defensive line, like you mentioned. So we'll see if he gets back on track. He did decent, but I think he had like 82 yards or something like that. But for the amount of carries he had, you expect those big plays from him.
Yeah. Christian Kirk, he hasn't been practicing with a groin injury, so
Hmm.
we'll see. I mean, I'm a fan of him, so hopefully he comes back. But anything else on that game you want to touch on?
Yeah, just a couple things for the Redskins. Haskins, each game he has these overthrows. He's just not as accurate as he needs to be. He fumbled in the red zone, and that was. I don't really blame him for that one because the tackle just completely missed, and we know Chandler Jones is the man. He got in there and just creamed him. So, uh, yeah, that happens. Terry McLaurin, of course, is the best receiver on the team. He took a big slant to the house, just showed how fast and stuff he was. Peyton Barber, he only played one snap this week, and the rest of it went to Gibson and McKissick. And quite honestly, I don't like any one of those running backs. I kind of wish that. Uh, no, I wish their running back didn't get suspended. What's his name?
Guys.
God, I wish guys didn't get suspended because they could really use them right now. Other than that, Brandon Sheriff out a month, another knee issue in the NFL, and Washington's defense just came back to earth a little bit after having 8 sacks against Philly. So that's about it for that game.
All right, on to actually this is a pretty interesting game. KC versus the LA Chargers
Yep.
at LA. KC ended up taking this in overtime, 23-20. Before the game, I don't know if you heard, but Tyrod Taylor, his lung actually got punctured by the team doctor
Yep.
with the needle. So he was feeling some chest pains, and he found out that was the reason why.
Crazy.
Um, Super unfortunate. That puts a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert. Well, I can tell you what, he didn't look half bad. He looked, a little bit. He's
Yep.
definitely kind of surprised before like the game, like going in there thinking I'm going to back up Tyrod. I'm going to do what it takes, and all of a sudden, hey Ben, you're starting by the way. It's like, oh shit, kind of throwing him definitely into the wolves, especially with KC and their improved defense for sure.
Yep.
Legarius Sneed is still stepping up for them, a rookie out of LA Tech, and that's really exciting to see. He's definitely a guy I liked for sure. Safety, he also played corner at LA Tech, and they have him playing some corner right now, and he's playing pretty solid. Justin Herbert end of the day with let's see, 22 for 33, 311 yards, a touchdown, and an INT. Um,
Yeah.
he fed the ball a lot to Keenan Allen, 7 receptions for 196. Actually, yeah, 7 receptions for 96 yards. Um, yeah, man. Another thing I got to say is that the Chargers always play the Chiefs stuff. They have something in that water as far as like knowing how to um, play Pat Mahomes, but Pat Mahomes is going to be Pat Mahomes, and just find a way to win.
Yeah, I went back and looked at this game because Mike Williams is actually available in one of my fantasy football leagues. I hope it's not one of the ones I'm in with you, but I think it is. So I wanted to see exactly how Herbert played, and I liked him. I think he played like a pro. He made a lot of big throws. He showed he had a strong arm, which kind of lines up exactly what with Mike Williams needs in a quarterback. But he also had his rookie mistakes. He missed a few throws and things like that. His very first NFL touchdown was a rushing touchdown. Um, he took a huge hit from Anthony Hitchens on the sideline, and he actually hurt Anthony Hitchens. So
Yeah.
that was a little bit of welcome to the NFL rookie type of thing, but he ended up surviving that hit. Um, the whole offense in its entirety did not lose a yard on a play for the entire first half. So no tackles for a loss, no negative plays, no anything, which I love that. So Herbert's looking good. Um, his biggest mistake to me was the interception. The second half, he threw into double coverage, which I just think, rookie mistake. Hopefully, he gets that out of his blood and moves on with it. But overall, to me, I'm sorry, Tyrod. He's a great guy and stuff, but I think they got to move on with him. I mean, I think they already are this week with that punctured lung. That's not something you just heal from in 1 week and come back and play from. So I think he'll be starting the next couple weeks. As for the running backs, Austin Eckler, man, he's good. He's slippery.
Mm.
He's makes plays, breaks tackles. He even had some good catches early on in the game. So I he didn't get hurt. As for some reason, I thought he was hurt. I don't know what it was. Maybe he was earlier, but I was rewatched the game and I was pretty impressed with him. I think it's because everyone was talking about Kelly being so good that I thought maybe he got hurt or something like that. But Austin Eckler's still there, playing great. Keenan Allen made some great catches in traffic. I mean, he just helped out the young quarterback so much. Uh, I think at the end of the game, yeah, it came down to the Chargers just couldn't score inside the 10-yard line and in the fourth quarter, and that's pretty much what lost the game for them. They could have beat the Chiefs, which is pretty crazy with the rookie quarterback. And yeah, so I think the arrow's pointing up for this team, especially if they stick with the rookie quarterback. The only two defensive notes I had is Joey Bosa got his first sack on Patrick Mahomes, and the Chargers blocked an extra point to keep them in the game. And so, when things like that are coming together, where you're blocking extra points for against the Chiefs and things like that, then you have a chance. So I think they kind of showed the formula what it is to beat these guys.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's try to go through this one pretty quick because I want to
Yep.
get to the one following this. You got Baltimore at Houston.
Yep.
Baltimore walks away with this one, 33-16, pretty easily. You know, Lamar Jackson just killing it, 18 for 24, 204 and a touchdown. You got Deshaun Watson also stepping in at 25 for 36, 275 touchdown, but an INT. Rushing and on both ends wasn't really, impressive stat wise. Receiving wise, looks like the ball was spread out a little bit more. The leading receiver for the Ravens was Marquise Brown, five
Yep.
catches for 42 yards. But looks like one, two, three, four, five, six. Quite a people had their hands on the ball, and they're definitely spreading the ball out a little bit more, giving Lamar Jackson some choices, which I like to see. Sean Watson, man, let's see here. His leading receiver is Brandon Cooks, five
Yeah.
catches, 95 yards. Randall Cobb had five catches. Akins had seven catches. Fells had two. Stills had two. Johnson had two, and Keoti even had two. So looks like both teams seem to be spreading the ball out a little bit more, which is pretty cool to see. But again, man, I mean the Ravens are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, honestly, that was the first thing that I wrote down is the Ravens keep rolling, and like you just said, they seem to be spreading it out. They actually started their first drive. They were in an empty formation, and I don't know if I've ever seen that with Lamar Jackson. So it just shows how much that they're really trusting his arm in this one, and this season moving forward. So they're going to catch some teams off guard, especially when they're doing stuff like that. Unfortunately, another injury. Ronnie Stanley got hurt in the second quarter. He went out. Uh, J.K. Dobbins came in. He had a great catch and showed some, like we always say, we love balance in running backs. Showed some great balance in the flat for the first down. Love both of those things. Marcus Peters made a great play on the ball. He intercepted Deshaun Watson. He was
Yeah.
supposed to be covering like the flat or maybe a quarter, and he just jumped over into the middle of the field and picked him off, which is just Marcus Peters play, just amazing. Only he's one of the only guys that can make that play. But the Ravens defense just continues to bring the heat, and it kind of the game got sealed. Mark Ingram was in the Wildcat, took the direct snap, went like 35 yards to the house on a 4th-and-1 for the touchdown, and yeah, that was about it. That sealed the game for these guys.
Yeah, I don't really got much else to say about this game because I'm really excited to get to this New England Seattle game.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right, man. I mean, Russ. I mean, you gotta let this guy cook, man. This guy is just killing the game right now. Game was five interceptions, five touchdowns, one interception, 288 yards. Cam Newton, 397, a touchdown and an interception. He's also leading the team in rushing as well with two touchdowns. They even trusted him, at the end,
Yep.
on the goal line, trying to rush it, which is not necessarily surprising, but I would have done something a little bit different, maybe spread them out a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
it came down to that very last play on it.
yeah,
This was a great game. This was
yeah,
one of the best games of the week, especially because they're both two great teams. It wasn't two subpar teams, but two great teams. They put on a show. It came down to the very last play. Cam Newton at the goal line with the QB sneak. He got stuffed that time, but it was something that seemed like it was unstoppable for the last 2 weeks. A crazy fact that I saw, Cam Newton was responsible for 95% of the Pats offense. And I forget exactly what the numbers were, but he was responsible for either rushing or passing for almost all their yards. And to me, that's just, they need some help at the running back position. Sonny Michel needs to step one of these guys. I know they're missing James White, but he probably would have been catching the ball. So yeah, Cam needs a little bit more help. I was surprised with Edelman's addition to the game. it seemed like they're getting on the same page, man. And he was making catches across the middle, taking hits, and I saw him beat Jamal Adams multiple times. So yeah, good for the Patriots. It seems like they're coming together.
Yeah, Edelman ended the day with 8 catches, 179 yards. Definitely looking solid for sure. Cam, I he's he's still looking good, man. I mean, that year off, definitely helped him out a little bit.
Yep. They're
Um,
using them in the running game and stuff. So that's exactly what you got to do. As far as Seattle goes, you already said it. Russell continues to light it up. He might be the favorite for MVP right now. But 5 touchdowns versus the Patriots. This is only the second time that this has happened. The only other time that it happened was Aaron Rodgers threw for 5 touchdowns on him. So, and that's the Belichick era. So he just doesn't let quarterbacks through that to him. Do that to him. A big part of this was DK Metcalf beat Stephon Gilmore deep. You also don't see that very often, man. I
no
mean,
way.
he's a great corner, and he just got beat deep. It happens to the best of them, but he kind of seems immune to that. And the intermediate type stuff, Lockett is just super consistent. He doesn't stop doing all those scramble drills and stuff with Russ, and they're just on the same page over and over and over. So, I could see this thing just keep going. And as far as defensive wise, we know Bruce Irvin, he got hurt. I think that was the torn pec or maybe the knee. I forget all these injuries this week, but I think that might give a little bit of room for Jordan Brooks, their first round pick, to come in. He's only played 10 snaps this year, so he's definitely got to step it up. And yeah, that's about it for that game.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to the Monday night game to seal this. This
Last but not least, yep,
go up. It's the first game at Agilent Stadium.
yep,
The Death Star, whatever you want to call it, over there in Vegas. Vegas, takes the win, 34-24. Um, one thing I gotta say, man, is Drew Brees' arm is dead. I mean, I know a lot of people want to talk shit about Michael Thomas, saying that his route tree is limited or whatnot. I mean, I did not see any kind of momentum for this offense whatsoever. I mean, Tyson Hill, showed out a little bit. Troutman made a couple catches here and there, but man, Manny Sanders definitely a disappointment over there. So far, I mean, hopefully, he steps up as a veteran. I know that he will. Smith, nothing to write home about. Just nothing really great. I
yep,
think Kamara ended up. Yeah, Kamara was the leading receiver, 9 catches, 95 yards. He also led in rushing, 13 carries, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One thing I gotta say about the Vegas Raiders though is that Josh Jacobs is the fucking stud, man.
yep.
Love watching that kid run. He runs hard. He runs, quick. He's super decisive. Um, Waller as well. Waller's
Mm-hmm.
definitely, making his name as, one of the better tight ends in this league. And in the day with 12 catches, 105 yards, and 1 touchdown, they ended up having to put Marcus Latimer on him, and he still even beat him in a couple times. Yeah, man. Pretty much, this game wasn't really back and forth. It just kind of seemed that it was, the Raiders' game to win for sure. Wasn't really too impressed by the Saints. Couldn't really get pressure, especially on the some backup tackles. You got Good in there as well as who else? The rookie Simpson went in there and held up his
Mm-hmm.
own. They couldn't create any pressure on Derek Carr, and that's where Derek Carr just kind of boils when he's under pressure.
Yeah, I
Um,
felt like that defense kind of broke down later on in the game. I mean, maybe it was Jacobs in that running game just wore him down, but yeah, the Raiders took off with this, and I just really didn't see this one coming. I thought this was going to be the Saints game. Uh, as far as I could see, Drew Brees he couldn't get the ball down the field or to the outside. So to me, he had to have some wide receivers open on one of those areas. He just couldn't get it down there. You mentioned Emmanuel Sanders. I had him on a fantasy football teams. I had to drop him. He didn't have one catch until late in the game. If you can't do it with Michael Thomas in and you can't do it without, I just can't start you with any confidence. So I had to let him go. As far as this game went for the Saints, it's the Alvin Kamara show, man. And not even necessarily in the rushing game. It's the short dump offs, the check downs, the things like that. And we know how good he is in the yards after the catch. And he just does his thing. A huge mistake, Drew Brees just threw a very bad interception over the middle that just wasn't very Drew Brees like. I mean, we've been watching him for years, and he just doesn't make mistakes like that, which kind of scares me a little bit. Also, a big thing that I think really put this game to bed was 10 penalties for the Saints. You can't do that. 10 penalties will hurt anyone over 100 yards in penalties. That just sets your offense back way too many times. The hard thing is they got the Packers next week, and that's definitely going to be a challenge. We know how good Aaron Rodgers is playing right now. Their defense, I think, is better than the Raiders, so good luck there. And, I don't think they're going to win that one. So, especially without Michael Thomas. As far as the Raiders go, I feel like they also couldn't get the ball down the field. Derek Carr would throw the ball down the field. He just couldn't connect. We saw him overshoot Ruggs a couple times. We saw him try over and over, but their bread and butter here was Waller. Would he have 12 catches? Just seemed like they're going back to back to back with him, and he has dominated everyone, linebackers, corners, everyone in the intermediate part of the field and even in the red zone. Josh Jacobs, a huge workload, over 30 touches this game, but no touchdown. He didn't need the touchdown. This guy shined and just showed he's once again one of the better running backs in the league. I just love his power and his shiftiness. Those two things together is going to work 10 out of 10 times. So
For sure.
Josh
Yeah.
Jacobs will keep that up. And congratulations, Raiders. You got your first win in your new stadium on opening day. So we'll see how much longer they can keep that up.
Yeah, they got the Patriots next week, morning game, so we'll see. That's
Where
definitely.
at? Does it say where it's at?
My producer will look that up right now. They are at New England, so
At New England, all right. I'd probably take New England in that one, but hey, I think it'll be a close game.
yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be 24-21 New England.
I think Cam will have a comeback game and get it done there.
For sure. Well, all right. Anything else before we wrap this up?
That does it. We covered them all.
All right. We'll see you next week. Sorry for the late episode. We've been kind of busy scrambling around here, but we'll connect a little bit better next time. Stay tuned for next week. We'll cover week 3, any kind of injury reports, maybe some hot fantasy pickups. We'll see. You guys have a good one.
Later.